simplify, automate, and accelerate. With Netaxis solutions.
Thank you all for joining. In the next presentation, I'll give you a highlight on, I'll talk more about Microsoft Teams and what we can do around Microsoft Teams, and also how we use the Oracle Cloud to deliver this kind of service. So I will be talking around this for the next 15 minutes. Let me quickly set up here something that I can keep the clock in the eye like this. Okay. So let's start with the start. As you all know, businesses need communication tools more than ever. It was presented in the video. And we all know that when we speak about the communication tools, what do we mean? We mean, of course, the ability for an enterprise or a company to talk to their partners, to customers. You need to also talk internally amongst colleagues. You need to have contact. And I think with the pandemic, that is something which has become even more clear how vital communication tools are to businesses. If you don't have communication tools, if we would not have the communication tools we have today, most probably the economy would have collapsed totally. Yeah, I think it's thanks to all the evolutions that have happened over the years in communication capabilities that we were able to sustain the economic activity that we still have. So I think communication tools are vital and will remain vital and will even become more important in the future. Now, if we look a bit to how the needs and the technology has evolved over the years, then for me, there are three main things that we see have happened. First of all, voice has become a feature over time, where before everything, when you spoke about enterprise communications, was all about voice. You had telephony, you had call centers. All these things have evolved into, let's say, multi-channel contact centers. We don't use only voice anymore to call each other. We also use things like this, webinars, video meetings, video conferences. We share screens. We do a lot of things, and there is more than voice only. Voice has become a sort of application, and it's one of the applications into the set of communication tools that businesses need and use. And depending on the persona, is it a traveling sales agent? Is it somebody in the front line, like a doctor or a nurse or something? They have, of course, different needs than knowledge workers like we. So all the applications are still relevant, but voice is one of them. And for some, voice is more important than for others. Second thing we see happening is that the on-prem market is, of course, going down. Before, all the UC solutions were on-prem solutions. It evolved from, like I said before, from PBX into UC. And now we see all these things moving to the cloud. And that's, of course, enabled by the fact that we use IP for everything. As we were able to decouple the application layer from the network layer, applications are no longer tightly linked to the underlying network like it was before with the PSTN network, with the 2G mobile network. So that enabled us to make all the applications, or let's say all the communication tools, into applications, let's say. And now we're able also to move them into the cloud. And that has been accelerated, of course, by the current situation where people desperately needed to work from home, needed to work from anywhere. And the other thing you see happening is that businesses are more global. We are a very small company, scale up, of course, but like 40, 50 people, but still we have people working in several countries, in Europe, and we have customers across the globe. We also have some people working in a nearshoring mode for us. So, and we're not the only one in that situation. I think all the businesses today, or most of the businesses today, are not just local. So these are very important things, and that also made that the need for these unified communication platforms, those global unified communication platforms, is very imminent, was very imminent, and the big players, of course, took full advantage of it. And so we saw in the recent years, Microsoft, but also Zoom, like Richard was mentioning, they were two years ago, I don't say that nobody spoke about Zoom, but it was only about video. And today you see that they play an important role in the unified communication environment. We have WebEx, as we all know, from Cisco. There is RingCentral. It's an American-based company who are trying to spread also their services into Europe. And there are also more. We also see that Google is At a given point in time, it looked like they were going to stop with their UC story, but they've revamped it also due to the pandemic. So the big players are really in the market and are challenging what we are all doing here already for several years. And the market is surely under pressure, and one of the big players there doing or putting that pressure is, of course, Microsoft. We all know, we all use Microsoft Teams from time to time. Some use it daily basis, sometimes others use it from time to time. It has grown spectacularly, and one of the big drivers there is, of course, Office 365. They were very smart in pushing everybody into their Office 365 offering, and seeing the fact that Microsoft Teams is bundled with it, that has of course been a very logical option for many people to start using during the pandemic. And due to that, but also due to the fact, of course, that people needed to search for such kind of tools, the tool has really, and the solution has really exploded, and they reported in the first quarter of this year 145 million daily average users, which is of course tremendous. And if you look to the future perspective, there are about 300 million Office 365 users, meaning that there is of course still a significant room to grow the service further. So yeah, Microsoft is there and is of course there to stay and to become more and more relevant. Now, if we have a closer look to those 145 million users, daily active users, if we zoom a bit in on the voice perspective, what does that mean for voice and all the, because we're all here also to talk about this part, of course. Well, then the first observation we need to make is that for Microsoft Teams, voice is a feature. Like I was saying before, voice has become a feature, has become an option, and this is the same for Microsoft Teams. There are different licenses. You have to, Bart van der Kar spoke about, we have PhDs at Netaxis. Well, you also need to have a PhD to be able to understand the licensing of Microsoft. However, if you're able to study it carefully, then you'll see that there are different levels of licenses. Of course, the most expensive are the ones who are including everything. And the most expensive bundle is including voice capabilities for Microsoft Teams. Teams is included in almost everything, but if you want to use PSTN dialing, you want to be called or you want to call through the classic telephony network with your Teams, you need to have a specific license for that. And in many of the license options of Microsoft, this is an option which you have to pay additionally. However, if you take the most expensive one, you get it included. And with that, you get a phone system, and the phone system gives you the ability to connect to PSTN, be reached from PSTN. You have features, the enterprise calling features, like we all know them, like call par, call transfer. You can set up auto attendance, call queues, and so on. And of course, this is something, a capability that's, I think, was not the main focus. You see that they put a lot of investment in it, of course, and it's evolving rapidly. However, they mainly needed, of course, to replace their existing Skype for Business market, which was an on-prem solution for UC in the UC market. And they, of course, need that in order to replace those customers, give them an alternative. And they also needed to further penetrate the still large on-prem PBX market. And now if you look to who of those customers, of all those 145 million customers or users, how many of them have this phone system license enabled? Well, you see it's less than 10%. So it means that there's still, in the existing 145 million users, there are still a lot of them who are not using Microsoft Teams to use voice today. These figures, by the way, I did not invent them. They are reported by Metrigy and by Cavell, which are leading research analysts in this area. And if we look to those 10%, if we then look how are they using voice on Microsoft Teams, well, that's another interesting question. First of all, we have to understand what are the different abilities or possibilities to connect voice PSTN to your Microsoft Teams account. Well, there are 3, in fact. There used to be 2, and there is a 3rd one coming. The first one is the Microsoft calling plan. In that case, you go onto the Microsoft Teams or on the Microsoft Admin Center. You buy calling plans for your user. You pay a price per user per month. And with that, you can select a phone number from their inventory, or you can port numbers to Microsoft. But Microsoft is becoming your service provider, and you pay them a monthly subscription for every user that needs a calling plan. The other option is that you say, hey, I want to keep my existing carrier, I want to keep my existing SIP trunk provider. Well, then it's possible to connect that SIP trunk to Microsoft Teams, and that's what we all know as direct routing. And now a third option is coming, and that's the Operator Connect, where if you're a certified operator and you're onboarded into the program of Microsoft, and currently there are about 11, I think, operators which are listed, and they're starting up a second wave of operators to be onboarded. Then there is a more native integration between Microsoft Teams and the carrier possible, but more details are still to be published there, and we're of course eagerly looking into that and how we can assist in this one. But these are the three main options there to add voice to your Teams account. And you would be wondering, yeah, what can we do against Microsoft? But the reality is, if when you look to the figures, then you see that less than 8% of the people using a phone system of Teams are using the Microsoft calling plans. Means that the majority of people are today using direct routing. And of course, we expect that there is an evolution towards the Operator Connect in the years to come. However, Metrigy, for example, they did a survey with their 500 corporate customers, and they were, the most of them were not planning to use the calling plans, but are also looking at the direct connect. So certainly for service providers, it's important. And I think also the reason why the Operator Connect has been introduced is because Microsoft recognizes that they need the service providers in order to keep evolving their solution. Last thing, I will go quickly over it. The reality about calling plans is that it's expensive. Like I said, you need to pay 12 to 24 euros per user per month to give your users calling capabilities on top of the phone system license, meaning that it will certainly, it becomes quickly more expensive as you grow your employee base. So if you go above 25 people, it's expensive. And what you see, people using direct routing are often several euros per month cheaper than with the calling plans.
You still have 4 minutes left.
Yes. So conclusion, Teams will keep growing, and of course Microsoft, we see that there is still a big opportunity there to use and to sell people phone system licenses. So there will be certainly a big push for Microsoft to also move those people with their phones to Microsoft. But so far, I think people have just switched to Teams also to keep up with their business as usual, to stay in touch with their customers. To keep the business running. I think now the moment will come that they will all start looking to, okay, what is now the best future strategy and what can we do? What can we consolidate our solutions? So there is a lot of things coming up here for sure. And Microsoft will be pushing for it. So it's time to get ready and then look, how can I do there? I think most of you are already delivering services in this area. Huh? So most of you are delivering SIP trunking services, which is doing just that business, but connecting Microsoft Teams instead of another PBX. Okay, there are some things particular to that, but let's say that's the basic of the basic. What we try to do, we try to help our customers to move up into the value chain. And the very first step next is going for direct routing as a service, where you provide a managed service for your customers, which includes also automatic provisioning, because this provisioning of direct routing, all that configuration is very cumbersome, like you all know. That is very manual. It's a manual thing, not easy to do. And so the first thing is, of course, to focus on that automatization, so that the process of getting your service running on for a customer in combination with Teams gets automated. That's the very first focus. And then once you're there, the next step is to see, can I do more? Can I deliver more services? Think about reporting, think about call centers, think about fixed mobile convergence. Can I enhance even further that solution, or can I maybe integrate it into my own UC solution? And these are, of course, the things where we help our customers work with. And for us, the main things to be successful in this market is to, of course, have a well-designed network, carry a great platform, but automating provisioning, giving customer self-care capability, and adding flexibility to the solution is really key in this area to get successful. And so our DRaaS solution, what is it? It's a way to automate the entire provisioning and integration of your calling platforms with Microsoft Teams. So we automated the provisioning, we automate the number selection, number management. It can be fully integrated into the OSS, BSS systems, and we provide self-care capabilities for customers to do this all themselves, or you can, of course, assist them. We use for that, of course, our own technology like the SRE, NEMO, or API platform, but also the Oracle SBCs are a fundamental part of this solution. And all this, we can do that in two modes. We can offer this from our Netaxis cloud, which is running on the Oracle OCI cloud. So it's hosted in the Oracle cloud. It's using all the capabilities that Oracle OCI is exposing. We manage it for you, and it's built to scale. So we look at it and we scale when needed. So that's the first option that we provide to our customers. And the other option is, of course, that we can enhance your own solution. So we can put in the right building blocks. If you already have a few building blocks or nothing, we can help you in composing a compelling direct routing as a service solution, and also look into how can we further automate and bring other capabilities into the solution in order that you can move up the value chain. So that was my presentation in a nutshell, and since my alarm has gone off, I think my time has finished. Bart.